You ever try to cut back on your screen time? You set the timers, you delete the apps, you promise yourself you're going to read more. And look, some of those changes stick, but others, well, they just don't. So today we're going to dig into why some of these digital habits are so incredibly hard to break.
Okay, so swapping one simple habit for another? That's usually pretty straightforward. Let's say you decide to read a book instead of scrolling through news headlines. That's a pretty easy switch, because you're really just changing the content you're consuming, not the deep-down reason you're doing it.
But then there's that other kind of scrolling, isn't there? The one that just kind of pulls you in when you're feeling a little bored or lonely, or maybe just down. The one you start doing without even thinking about it. Yeah, trying to replace that habit, it feels almost impossible. It's a whole different beast.
So, what's going on here? Why does one type of scrolling feel like a simple choice, while the other feels like a deep compulsion? That's the big question we're tackling. And the answer, it turns out, has very little to do with willpower. It's actually much deeper than that.
This is where things get really interesting. The idea here is that when we get caught in these compulsive habits, we're not just wasting time. We are, without even realizing it, hiring these apps to do a very specific job for us, an emotional job.
So what's an emotional job? Well, it's not about looking for entertainment. It's the real, fundamental human need you are trying to scratch in that moment, probably without even consciously knowing it. And these jobs usually fall into three main buckets. We scroll because we're looking for validation, that need to feel seen, to feel like we're good enough. We scroll for connection, to feel like we belong, like we're part of a tribe. And we scroll for escape, to just, check out from a feeling we don't want to feel.
Let's start with validation. That little dopamine hit you get from a like or a nice comment, it feels good. It temporarily feeds that need to feel like we matter. But the thing is, this is a deep human need. And a little fleeting digital thumbs up, it's a really superficial way to try and fill that hole.
And what about connection? We see our friends' updates, their vacation photos, and it feels like we're staying in the loop. But we have to stop and ask ourselves, is watching someone's highlight reel the same thing as a real connection? What actually makes you feel genuinely close to someone? And then, oh boy, there's escape. This one is huge. When you're lonely, that endless feed can feel like a warm blanket, a great distraction. But here's the crazy paradox. The very act of scrolling often makes us feel more isolated, which just makes the loneliness worse in the long run.
So, here's the crucial takeaway. We have these real, profound emotional needs, and we're hiring our phones to do the job. The problem is, our phones are terrible employees. They offer what's basically a fake solution. And you can see the mismatch right here. On one side, you've got this genuine, core human need for real connection, for real validation. And on the other, you've got the digital substitute, likes, follows, an infinite stream of content. It kind of looks like the real thing, but it's a cheap knockoff. It never truly satisfies that deep-down hunger.
And let's be honest, looking at this stuff head-on, it's uncomfortable. It is so much easier to just grab the phone than to actually sit with that feeling of being lonely, or to find a sense of worth inside yourself. But facing that discomfort, that's the absolute first step. It's about facing the real need instead of just reaching for the fake solution.
Okay, so if scrolling is the fake solution, then what's the real one? This is where we get a really practical, actionable plan. And don't worry, it's not about deleting all your apps and running off to live in a cave. It's about starting small with what's called the real work.
So, here's your assignment, and it's just 2 simple steps. First, you got to get real with yourself. What's the main emotional job you're hiring your phone to do? Is it mostly validation, connection, escape? And then second, once you know what that job is, find just one small, tangible, real-world alternative.
And the examples here are perfect because they aren't these huge, scary things. If you're craving validation, maybe just write down one thing you're proud of in a journal. If you're feeling lonely, send a real text to a friend, not a meme, but something real. These are tiny, deliberate actions that start to feed the actual need.
Now here's the catch, and it's a big one. Sending that text or sitting with your feelings for 5 minutes, it is not going to feel as good as scrolling does at first. It won't give you that instant rush. The reward from doing the real work is slower, it's deeper, and it takes a little patience.
And that really brings us to the final powerful idea here. The choice we have every time we get that urge to scroll isn't just about how we spend a few minutes. It's a choice between 2 totally different things, numbing versus healing.
Think of it this way, scrolling is a numbing agent. It's like a temporary painkiller for an uncomfortable feeling. It doesn't fix anything, it just postpones it. The real work, on the other hand, is the start of a healing process. Yeah, it's uncomfortable at first, but it actually addresses the root of the issue. So, the next time you feel that pull, that unconscious twitch to open an app, this is the question to ask yourself. The choice isn't just phone or no phone. The real choice is this. In this moment, are you going to choose a quick hit of numbing, or are you willing to take one small step toward actual healing?